So when did you first discover your admiration for cars?
Very early age, very early age. As many things where you talk about football, stuff like that with cars, it always starts with your people in your family, like my dad. I can remember it so vividly. I can remember living in that whole bungalow because I'm originally from Peterborough. I can remember the bungalow. I can remember the estate. I can remember all our neighbours. But the one thing I always remember is the noise that car made. That's how you knew my dad was coming home in that old Golf, that old black Golf GTI, twin pipes. You could old 8.5 early. Late 80s, early 90s, I believe, 8 valve, but you can hear it. You could hear it. That's why my mum goes, "Oh, Dad's coming," and I remember it. I've had pictures of it. I remember the interior, the look, the smell. It just kind of the romance behind it started
Yeah.
back then. As with anything, and even then, I've had cars around me. I've had old model cars around me. I had a car bed sheet. I had car everything. Watch, I don't have it now because I'm 28 years old, so it doesn't really look great, but it all started back then. But even then, I had other cars around me like 205 GTIs, Fast Fords, Fiestas, Minis. It kind of started. It kind of started around there. I mean, I'm a big fan of, you know, like the Ferraris, the Lambos, the Porsches. There's nothing better than having a humble, great car, like a humble, like a Ford or a Vauxhall, something like that. That's humbling, and they have great memories behind because you were there. I remember being in that car. I can remember the interior right now, the color of the seats, the steering wheel. You tell
Oh
me.
wow.
I even remember it was a C Reg. It was a C Reg. That's how vivid my memory is. So it's stuck in there. It's still there now. Somewhere I'm convinced that that car is probably still out there somewhere. I don't know.
And
So
would you say that car is the car you first fell in love with, or is there another car that really hits your heart?
definitely the very first car I fell in love with. I figured. I remember the day when we left it. We moved to London, and I left it, and the car was just looking at me. It was going further and further away. I was thinking, why isn't the car coming with us? Like that young age. And that's always questions always been in my head. I
Yeah.
was asking my dad. He eventually told me the story behind it. I've always wondered behind it. I think I see another one. When I see another one, even if I see two in one day, or I see the one every day coming down the same street, I always keep an eye for it because it's memory. It's nostalgia. It's home. It's comfort. So
Yeah.
I always keep an eye out for it. I'd love to eventually. I'd love to own one day. Even my dad will say. I asked him the other day. He's got a BMW 3 Series right now. He still holds that Golf as the best car he's ever had.
What is it
So
about the Golf that really draws you in?
it's hard to say, but again, all comes down to that home feeling, and just the fact that back then cars had a more sense of an identity. You know what I mean? Like so,
Yeah.
Vauxhalls, Fords, thing, Minis, Japanese cars, British cars, German cars, all had a sense of identity. You could look at a Golf and you say it's a Golf, and you can look at an Escort and say it's an Escort, and vice versa. And I think it's just the Golf is just like you can even go back to the history of Volkswagen in general. That was meant as a car to replace the Beetle, which it kind of did in a way. And the Golf, like you ask anyone like to buy a car, it's a Golf. It just does everything. You can have one in Hausen, you can have one in Hampstead Heath. It doesn't matter. It looks great. Every car. It's a universal appeal.
Yeah.
Anyone can have one. The Queen would have one, and wouldn't think anything less of her. So it's just a great appeal. That's what I can say about it, really.
No, that's good. You mentioned just then that like modern cars don't really stand out that much. So to you, what makes a modern classic?
Modern classic can cover a many variation of things. First of all, you'll hear a phrase a lot when they're talking about a car that you don't have anymore. It's in the case of they don't make them like they used to, which they don't. So there's that. So like an outgoing technology. I mean, the manual gearbox as we know it is eventually phasing its way out. Give it another 5, 10 years, they'll be gone. Even the internal combustion engine, people are focusing more on alternative friendly fuels, so that's you got to consider that. Racing heritage is a good one. Racing heritage is always very, very, very strong. Pioneering a new technology, so something that's never been done, that's featured in the car and then gets filtered down. So they can have about. I mean, I can make it simpler: rare, beautiful, or interesting. Which I think they made a point on Top Gear. It's got to have at least one of those things to be considered like a true classic. Something that's new enough to be reliable, but old enough to have been forgotten. So a good example would be I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called the Renault Aventime. It came back in. I love that. I wish I had a picture of me. It came out in 2001, 2002. It was marketed as a coupe, going on the likes of the 3 Series Coupe BMW and the Audi TT. But
Oh
if
wow.
you saw it, you would never know. It was based on a people carrier, so it was big, but it still had it was still like a coupe shape. And no one really bought it, but it was pioneering. It had like clever doors. I mean, it was just like, it just looked futuristic. If I showed you a car right now, or anyone, you might think it was released 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
We're talking about a car that's 16, 17 years old. So that's a great example. So, and it's starting to kind of pick up in a little bit of money. You could pick up one for about £2,000, but prices will go up. That's just a stepping stone. They can go so much further. Another good example is someone I know who follows my Instagram page. He was talking about old fast forwards like Sierra Cosworths and stuff. And he was talking to me like, how much can you pick one up for? About £2,000, because they're old. They're like late 80s cars. Think of thinking like £2,000. I was thinking, mate, £2,000 we didn't get you a bad one.
Damn.
They can go, and I've read and I've seen, they can go into, the most I've ever seen one for, I've heard, goes for about £110,000.
£110,000.
110. It's, got to think about it. It's an old fast forward, rear wheel drive, everyday car. You don't see them anymore. They went through this whole period of cut and shut boy racer cars, so insurance premiums were very, very high, so no one really bought them. But at the same time, they have racing heritage from rallying, like touring car racings, like you name it. And the Cosworth badge is good for more heritage as well. And it's a case of, you look at the side of it back in like 1980s, they don't make them like they used to anymore. That was just, and they could humble much quicker cars with higher price tags. So that's another good example as well. The fact that they think it's £2,000, it's worth so much more, so much more. But again, I could go on. So
That's amazing. So like, if we were to like step out of the building today and just go for a quick little drive just around the area, what are the 3 modern classics that you'd expect to see on the road?
Going out on the road, one of the most ones I see one right now is, it's easier for me to look at more everyday cars, because you don't see like Porsche, Ferrari, modern classics every day. They're very, very rare. But again, I'm going to go back to the Golf, because it's just so easy. I see it's the Mark V Volkswagen Golf GTI. Came back in about 2004 to about 2006. That was the car reportedly to bring the GTI back to where they want it to be, because previous models were a bit below par. So that's a good one to look at. I mean, it's still new enough to be modern, to be safe, to be reliable, not that hard to run, but it might have been old enough that you might have even forgotten about it, especially where VW are now and the whole scandals, which really doesn't help them. So another good one, there was one just outside here, BMW M3 E92. It's a coupe, V8, I mean, a V8 engine in a BMW 3 Series. I mean, come on now. Back in 2007, I'm reading that, I think, I can't wait. I'm buzzed. I'm excited. I mean, it's a V8. A V8 is going to be seen in muscle cars, Ferraris, and it's in this everyday car here that your mum or dad could drive, and you can still have kids in the back seat. Come on, man. I mean, how do you know? I mean, again, a car like that could be also considered, because it's got technology in there that won't be seen ever again. It's the first V8 M3. It's going to be the last V8 M3. So that's 2 I've seen recently. Another one, I want to try and get a bit more wild card about this one. I know I'm going to say the Subaru Impreza. Now, hear me out. Hear me out on this one. If you came to me 10 years ago and told me that Subaru Impreza was going to be a classic, I would laugh at you. But look what's happened now. In this year, we've just announced the Subaru WRX STI, which is like, it's hard to say, because they have an Impreza right now, but it hasn't got the rallying heritage anymore. So just call it the WRX STI. It's the last one in the line. We're not expecting to see another one again. So, and it's carried on that same Formula 4-wheel drive, boxer engine, rally bred technology. It's the last in the line. They're not going to make any more 150 so cars. And it's the end of the line. Now, what that does for the previous Imprezas is bring up their value, because you don't see them every day anymore. You really don't, especially particular ones. You're looking at big money here. I mean, like I said, 10 years ago, you said an Impreza would have been considered a modern classic. They'd laugh you out the build. They would laugh you out the build. I mean, Impreza, come on, it's not like an E-type Jag or an original Mini. I mean, come on, it's just a big wing. You know that. I mean, whatever. But like I said, it's got so many. It's got heritage. And I remember, especially on like racing games, when you were a boy, you couldn't necessarily drive one, but I could get one on Gran Turismo and be like, yes, that's a car, yeah, it's a car. Right. It's a car you can relate to, because you can get to it. You see like Colin McRae, Richard Burns, big names in British rallying making that's immortalising that car. Rally wins. It's got performance to humble much more expensive machinery out there. It really does. So that's why you're seeing these Imprezas. All of a sudden, you can still pick them up for a good price, but now, I mean, to get the elite, you're looking up there, man. You're looking up there. You're looking at the most expensive one I've ever heard of, the 22B was about £100,000 for an Impreza. That's how crazy this modern classic, this whole, that's how the modern classics kind of business even, or it's mad. It's stronger than gold.
Yeah.
It's stronger than gold. If you're not doing property, you're doing that, because it's insane.
So obviously with modern classics, there's a lot of great cars that have come along the lines, but with every industry, you also have bad cars too.
Yeah.
So what would you say are the 5 worst attempts at making a classic car?
The one that sticks out for me the most is the BMW X6. There's nothing out there redeeming about it whatsoever. You buy that car to have a BMW, not having a good one. If you want a BMW that badly, get a 3 Series diesel. At least it offers something to the table.
That's true.
The X6, it offers nothing, and it's expensive. It looks like a Hippo, and that's bad against the Hippo. That's not fair. I'd rather have a Hippo than an X6. It offers nothing to the table. I mean, BMW. Okay, I know. They've got to try and find these niches. They've got to make money, and that is fine. I've accepted it, but I don't have to accept mediocrity. You know,
True.
BMW know better. They pioneered jet engines. They pioneered engines for some of the fastest cars in the world. They make some of the best sports cars in the world, and you're expecting me to expect that to accept that. I would rather walk. Next on the line, I would say the X4, but it's the same thing, but smaller and just as bad. A lot of Korean cars out there. I mean, no disrespect. A lot of Korean. They're getting their act together now, but a lot of Korean cars. I had one called the Daewoo Lanos.
Oh, the name alone is making
which
me
had
disgusted.
manual windows but an electric sunroof. So I'll leave you to talk about that one. I've got nothing to say about it. Not even give it the time. Next one, Vauxhall Vectra. It took on from the Cavalier. The Vauxhall Cavalier, again, is another car you can think of like that had some input, like Retmobiles, like something your dad would drive. It even had racing heritage. Even the Vectra had racing heritage. Couldn't save it.
My mum had a Cavalier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I think it's something.
classic.
It had something like an impact. It was a big like Retmobile. A lot of money. General Motors put a lot of money into it back in the day to kind of fund it to get it to where it needs to be to compete with like the Fords and the Renaults of the era. So at least it can hold that against it. I mean, it had something about it. With the Vectra, it just felt. I don't want to give it any grace. I don't want to give it any more time. What another bad car? It's hard to name. I'm gonna throw the Audi Q7 in there. I'm gonna throw that in there. It's just, and again, you're buying an Audi for having an Audi. I can't think of one benefit. Yes, it's got 7 seats. So does a Range Rover. So does a Volvo XC90. It just feels like you're having it, and they're expensive. They are so expensive, and I get your family, kids, this and that, but no, I'm just not a big fan of it. I'm having a dig at the big names, but that's because I expect better from them.
Yeah, and I think
as a
they
car critic as you do.
And I think that's the thing, when you have a reputation for delivering success and delivering quality, you should
That
match
you know
up.
they can do.
And when you have your bad moments, you just got to front it and deal with it.
Another one. Have you ever heard of the Ford Fusion?
No,
No, it says a lot.
I'm glad.
The original crossover, not something to be proud of. Not really. And the last one. Let's make it a good one. I know. This is the personal analogy because it happened to me when Nissan Micra. I got run over by one. So, but all I say is I'm still here and the Micra wasn't. So,
What's the last film you've seen that featured a memorable modern classic?
the last film I saw, which had I think a great modern classic in it, was was it Fast 8? I think it might have been Fast and Furious 8. The last film I saw with direct cars in it. I think I saw that. I mean, any of the Fast films, take your pick.
That's true.
Take your pick.
They do a good job.
It's the one where Roman Pierce was driving a Lamborghini Murcielago. Yes, he stuffed it into a glacier into the ice, so that one's worth nothing. But in general, I think that was the first Lamborghini to be backed by back when Audi bought the rights to Lamborghini. That was the first kind of car they made together, which many people they believe that was the last kind of great. As far as partnerships go, that was the greatest combination of the two. So the Italians do what they're good at, and the Germans do what they're good at. I mean, it's a great looking car. The engine harks back to that in the '60s.
Yeah.
I mean, so That's a good one. That's a good one to look at. That's a good one to look at. It might not be, I don't know how much they're necessarily worth now, because then again, my main thing is looking at cars with more humble brands, because they're the ones you're going to surprise. With a Lamborghini, it's a Lamborghini, you expect it to be expensive. But I think that's going to be a good one to look out for, because it's still going to have like, it's still going to have a manual gearbox, which is a big thing for a lot of people. It's going to have a lot of driver input. So yeah, I think keep an eye out for that. The Lamborghini Murcielago. Take your pick, any one of them. So yeah.
Obviously, we focused a lot on modern classics. Now we want to step into the future. So what's your thoughts on electric cars, especially the Teslas? I'm a massive fan of Tesla. I want to own one at some point in the future. Don't know how many years it's going to take, but I'll get there. I'll get there. So like, what would you say, what's your thoughts on them?
I like Tesla. I like what they're doing. All right, you get the people have their opinions on them again. They think that they're this, they're terrible, they're this, they're that. But I actually really like what they're doing. They're making electric. It's very difficult to make an eco car cool or sexy or approachable. Prius had that problem big time when it first came out, especially with all the celebrities kind of buying it, and they're just buying it for the wrong reasons, like, oh, it's economical. Well, are you sure? Are you really sure? With the Tesla, I think they're going about it the right way. They've made electricity cool, and you have to admit that. Even me, I love the petrol engine. I love everything it's about, but it's going to be going out at some point. Getting ready for it is the right thing to do, and Tesla going about it the right way. I mean, they've got so much stuff. Yeah, it's gimmick. A lot of them they have to offer is gimmick, but gimmick can get you a long, long way. They're doing things that even a Mark II Golf GTI will never be able to do. And they got some good stuff about them. They're really trying. They're pioneering to work. They're working really hard to make their cars, like, I think they're going to struggle to make the cars more affordable. They're expensive. That's one thing going against them. And the fact that you can't just fill it up with petrol, you have to charge it for how many hours you need to charge it for. But they're going about, they're doing the right thing, because let's face facts, cities in the next 5 or 6 years, cities like London and Paris are already calling for bans of all internal combustion engines, petrol, diesel, you name it. It's done, it's finished.
Well, I mean, we say London, but of course we've got, so
yeah, so
depends how it happens,
Exactly. So they're doing the right thing. Eventually, look, we'll all be driving electric cars eventually. We're all going to drive it. So let's just enjoy the petrol engine while we have it now. And like, if you want to buy a Tesla right now, that's great. I mean, I'm a big fan. I am a fan of them. I admire them. I like when they see them. They look great, and they're going to be onto great things. They're trying to maintain some pleasures for the driver. So it's not all about sport or this, that. Just having something about you it's just great to have. So Tesla, I like what you're doing. Look forward to seeing more. So just make your cars cheaper, please.